You've slain the dragon, taken its head, scaled it, and took all of its gold. But where are you gonna go in order to cash in all of your rewards? Well, that's what we'll be talking about today in my video. Hi, my name is Khalil Roberson, and on this channel, we talk a lot about Dungeons and Dragons, and both from the side of being a player and the side of being a dungeon master. And in today's video, more specifically, what we're going to be talking about is making your town slash city. They're both basically the same thing in my book, just different sizes. So, where does your party go after they finish the adventure? Where do they stop and have all these down activities in order to engage with the world itself, rather than engaging it through combat, but engaging it through role play and through buying and getting new things? This is where creating a town becomes really important. So, how do you create a town? What's the steps in order to create a town? Well, the way I like to create a town is think of it like it's a real town in the real world. A lot of towns, or a lot of cities, I should say, have a main source of economy. And a lot of them have multiple sources of economy, but I like to think of it as, all right, what's the main source of this town's economy? What exactly do they gain money off of and actually earn a living and they're really good at? So, for instance, there's a town that I'm currently designing for my world and for to be the starting home base for my D&D group. It's called Kainzuazen, and it's because it's a deep gnome city. And whenever I think deep gnomes, I always think German, so I kind of just put everything that involves deep gnomes in German. So Kainzuazen, in my mind, was, all right, what's something that deep gnomes are really good at, or what's something that I want the deep gnomes to be their primary economy? And just reading through all the flavor text in the monster manual on deep gnomes, I found that they are amazing miners and they find jewels and all that stuff. So, mining town. I mean, why not? You live underground because that's the current place that my setting is going to be taking place in. You live underground and there's just gems and minerals there, and your race is already good at it. So, you know what? Let's make a mining town. Perfect. Always start with the way that your city or your town gets their main source of economy. And if not their main source of economy, what sources of economy are the highest points in their city, right? So I said, all right, it's a mining town. What is a mine going to need, right? A mine's going to need pickaxes, carts. It's going to need railroad tracks. It's going to need all that stuff. So there obviously is going to be a person that wants to profit off of this, hence a blacksmith who's going to be making all of these tools and whatnot. And sometimes it gets dangerous down there, so they're going to also need weaponry and armor. So a blacksmith slash weaponsmith slash armorer. I can even have, if I decide to make it a city instead of a town, which the real difference between the two is size. A city is way bigger than a town. And if you have a city, there's a lot more people that do the exact same thing, but compete in different ways. That's how a city would work. Versus a town, there's like one, maybe two people who do the exact same thing. So I am currently in beginning stages of making my town. So I just said, you know what? There's a blacksmith. All right. If I have a blacksmith who also makes weapons and armors, the leather armor is a thing that they would most likely use, or they could use. So in order to get leather armor, you need leather. So someone else is going to want to profit off this. Let's get a tanner. A tanner is going to exist in the town because he's going to supply the blacksmith, who then supplies the miners. Okay, they live deep underground. What are they going to use to tan? There's no deer deep underground whatsoever. Scrolling through the monster manual again, I saw the Otyughs, which are essentially large aberrations who feed off of dead corpses and waste. Really, that's what they feed off of. And I like, that seems interesting. What if this town employed Otyughs to, one, clean up their waste, and if the Otyughs ever get out of hand and dangerous, they kill them. The tanner can then take their skin, and now we have we have the ability for the tanner to get materials. So now I just created a tanner that supplies the blacksmith with leather, who then supplies the mine with tools and leather. But who's going to be employing these Otyughs? Who's going to be controlling and organizing this? Well, I have a whole Otyugh disposal system, who's an entirely other entity and point of interest that the party can go see, in which these people quite literally handle all waste management, period. handle the capture and breeding of Otyughs, and really handle all the killing of them if they get too rowdy. All right, a tanner only needs skin and like maybe the top level of flesh. There's like a lot of meat and whatnot that's kind of going to waste. What's he gonna do with that? He's a tanner. Why would he care? He's gonna sell it off to someone. That's something for someone else to make a living off of. Let's say a tavern. Now I have an excuse to put a tavern in there who sells Otyugh soup or whatever they want to sell. Or even I can get more exquisite and have a specific restaurant that sells Otyugh prime rib. You see what I mean? Like these are different things, and it could be like a focal spot in the rich section of town where the people go in order to eat their nice prime rib from the Otyugh disposal and have a nice conversation over the politics, what's happening in the city. Wow, that's like all that stuff I just gave you guys and told you about my personal city just came from a mine. So the first step when it comes down to making your city or town is figure out what's the main source of economy. And then once you have that one thing figured out, just work backwards. What does this thing need in order to operate and run? And then what does that next thing need? And just keep going from there. And once you keep on going down that rabbit hole and you finally answer all those questions, okay, now that I have all these questions answered, I have a nice foundation for my city's economy. What does my, if it's a city, most likely has some kind of organized guard and government. Sorry about that. Organized guard and government. Okay, if you have a guard, that means you have to have guard towers because they have to be set around and starting to guard the city. Patrols, they must have captains. They have to have a place themselves so they can have a barracks there. Why not? They have to have a central point in which they actually have the city work, or the city work, but the government works and orchestrates itself. Now I have another building. Now I have another point of interest, and you just keep building and building. A lot of city and town building is based off of just asking questions and answering them. And that's simply and easiestly, I don't think that's really a word, but we'll go with it. That's the simplest way in order to actually make a town. You find that one thing that it's really good at economically. And then once you find that one thing, you just figure out everything that that one thing needs in order to operate and everything that those things that operate need in order to operate. And you just keep answering those questions. And before you know it, you have an entire city. Now, the tools that I use in order to do this is Google Spreadsheets or Google Sheets, in which literally what I do is on the first row, I freeze it. That way it scrolls down with me while I'm adding things. And on the left, like the first column, I put kind of place. And I just go through a list and figure out all the different kinds of places that this town's going to need in order to have its economy run. And then once I do that, I just figure out the name of the place because, that's what the party cares about. And again, whenever I think of deep gnomes, because of just how their name is, or their actual name instead, deep gnome is Zwervnieblen, I always think German. So most times whenever I'm thinking of a name of a store, I literally just go Google Translate English to German, and I just figure out words that translate from English to German, and then I take it and I spell it in the way that English would be pronounced. That way it's easier for my party to understand it. And then that's the name. So like, for instance, inside my city, I have Zorn tamers, which Zorn are essentially earth elementals who can easily sniff and find minerals and metals. The mine's going to use them because that's the easiest way in order to find even more mine mithril veins or simply veins of ore or even gemstones. And they feed the Zorn a little bit of the gems that they find and keep going on their mining session. And that's really how that works. And literally what I named it, because if my players ever find this video or they just want to figure out what my stores actually mean in English, the literal name of it is Nice Dog. Because I was thinking, oh, nice doggies, because that's what the Zwervnieblen would think that the Zorn are essentially what we would consider dogs. So, nice doggy. And, I just throw in little jokes like that all the time. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the content to this video. If you are interested in some other videos, you have a town now, but what about the adventure that the party's going to need to go to in order to have gold to trade in town? If you go up to the card up there, there will be a link to go to another video I made in which I talk about how you create an adventure. And if you continue to enjoy all my content, just subscribe and like below, and always leave a comment. I'm always willing to engage and talk with you guys because this is a community we're trying to build together. All right, guys, that's all for today, and have a fantastic day.